Hey, Robert. So I want to talk to you about, I don't know what this guitar is called, the 420 guitar, the Wii guitar. Tell me more.
Well, it was a brainchild of Chris and myself during a lunch that we had that we were enjoying together, and knowing that the vote was coming up in November in California, and the fact that we have this beautiful constitution that lets us vote and express ourselves. We wanted to be prepared for the event that this could pass, and it's a commentary really on the situation of this Prop 64 passing, and it is just celebrating this milestone in California history, and we needed to create something very visual, something kind of outlandish, just to have this guitar talked about like it wouldn't be talked about enough. But we needed some visual art, and what's really interesting about Martin guitars is that they have this wonderful Mamaki printer that allows an illustration that is created by an artist, myself in particular, but it prints it directly on top of this guitar. It is completely a full wooden guitar. It's got a spruce top, but it allows this illustration to be reproduced in such a beautiful way directly on the top of the guitar. The body has to be assembled and it has to be arranged in this printer, but it can be replicated over and over again. And this is something new that they are using over the past few years that they're developing, and they're increasing its use because this can be something visual as an expression of music as well, or played. So this guitar becomes a real venue for just an awful lot of different things. Well, I had just this small concept sketch going on, and we were playing with some ideas, and when it passed, it needed some modifications. The sketch and the drawing did, and it's just really, it's also just a playful visual. The bear that's represented here, there's a bear on the California flag. I think the bear's name is Monarch, so I thought we would just play around maybe with that image. Of course, California postcards are something that I used to collect when I was a kid, and you'd get one from hello from California, hello from Florida. So again, I thought I would play with that image as well, and it just kind of developed into something that I wanted to be stunning and catch your eye and colorful, and just have a little bit of fun with this as well.
So it's widely available now?
Yes, it is.
How limited is it?
To the year. I think it's available throughout the course of 2017. And, hopefully people will just kind of enjoy the visual nature and the fact that, we do have this freedom in this country that allows us to vote in any direction we want, and just have a good time with this guitar.
Great. And any other specs we should know about it? Spruce top, the sides, and...
It's a standard D17. So what's lovely about that is there's really no rosette pattern in here, and so I can have this artwork creep right in and around it. And the difficult thing with designing any art on this guitar in particular is that the prime real estate of this canvas, so to speak, has a big sound hole here and a neck, and it takes up, you have to design around these elements. It's not like a canvas where you get to cover the whole thing with a composition. You have to compose whatever you're working on around these things that you also have to play with strings and bridge and neck. So
as you know, Martin has paid tribute to more than 100 different artists in the last couple of decades, really kind of defining the signature models. This year we have two extra signature models. This guitar pays tribute to the incredible legacy of John Prine. And what I didn't realize, I knew John played a D28, but I didn't realize it was the very same D28 Martin guitar that he's played on every album, every recording, every performance for his entire career. So this guitar has Angels of Montgomery in the headstock. Otherwise, it's a pretty standard D28 with toned lacquer on the top, scallop bracing, Engelmann spruce, which has a very open, responsive tone, and beautiful Madagascar rosewood, which is quite rare, for the back and sides of the guitar. Each edition signed by John, and this is limited to 70 special instruments. We're also paying tribute to Dwight Yoakam, who also played the D28 throughout his career. Actually wore a little hole through his D28. This has the two of hearts and the two of clubs, the deuces, and the other references to the suits of playing cards, which is a theme that Dwight just loves. It's kind of like the pedal steel guitar motifs that you see. The Style 45 headplate in mother of pearl. And the other unusual aspect is this unique pickguard, which is steer horns, kind of the Nashville Western theme. East Indian rosewood back and sides, and Sitka spruce for the top. A beautiful D28. Of course, this is also scallop braced.
And this is limited as well.
This is limited only by the number of orders taken, whereas the John Prine is limited to a specific number of 70. Martin makes a complete range of guitars in price. I guess they call that vertical integration. But at the very top of that pinnacle would be the authentic guitars and the guitars coming out of the Martin custom shop. And this guitar, interestingly enough, was not made by Martin. It was made by George Bauer. George Bauer was a guitar maker in Philadelphia around the same time and from the same region of Germany as C.F. Martin. And we bought the guitar, which was in not great shape, and we converted the guitar from a Bauer with Brazilian rosewood back and sides, retopped it, re-necked it, and made it into a Martin conversion guitar. And this is done in a really very, very early style of guitar called Style 30, which involves this beautiful red and green and white marquetry. It's also picked up on the back strip. Style 30 stood for $30. It was a pretty good deal back then. Be a really good deal today. But this is, I think, the very best of what the Martin Custom Shop does. Early Martin guitars were very, very plain and had no, this predates the decal or any other logo on the headstock. Of course, Martin always stamped the back of the headstock, but that's not done on this because it's George Bauer. The tuning machines were done by Stuart McDonald. They're special replicas of very early Martin guitars in nickel with real pearl buttons. This is called a conversion, but it's very akin to the authentic series of guitars. The authentics use the processes and materials that are authentic to the specific time periods. And this is a good example here because the finish used here is extremely thin, done with pumice. It's not real shiny. It's done the way that the guitars would have been done in the 1910, 1920 time period. You know, I equate tone with weight, and this guitar, which is usually would be a pretty heavy guitar with rosewood back and sides, it's light as a feather, and I think that's just an immediate indication of tone, and to me that's what everything is about: tone, tone, tone. Well, the 2 millionth guitar was about the passage of time, and guitar number 2 million has a beautiful handcrafted watch in the headstock. This is the D200, which takes its inspiration from the 2 millionth guitar and utilizes many of the similar inlay motifs and themes, which are all time related. This is probably the most difficult, challenging guitar ever made, at least in the acoustic guitar realm, because of the many different types of materials and the different layerings, the unique elements of the guitar. This is called guilloché, which is a French watchmaker's term for the watchmaker's engraving technique. Just unprecedented inlay and a palette of different materials. The early Martin guitars, which were called Spanish-style guitars, had a stripe down the middle of the sides, and we've picked that up in a triple band of pearl, and the back also mimicking the inlay motif of the D2 2/millionth with gears and time. A special silver internal label, and there's only 50 of these being made, and this is the economical model compared to the 2/millionth. This is only $149,999 retail. You know, it's pretty fancy.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have something fancy to pay tribute to the milestone of so many instruments. We wonder where all these guitars go. The collaboration on this project was with RDM. RDM is a Pennsylvania watchmaker, one of the only handmade watchmakers in the United States. And when somebody purchases this guitar, they get a customized RDM watch, which we have on display here over by the instrument. Very rare, heavily bare-clawed spruce.
Wow.
And Brazilian rosewood back and sides, what's left of them.
Right.
And, you know, fanciness doesn't mean tone at all. Fanciness means glitz. Martin is about tone, and this still has it. Still has the quintessential Martin tone. These are very unusual. These are called liquid metal bridge pins. And our research, we took a standard set of bridge pins, did an analysis of the tone, loosened the strings, switched to these, and across the board achieved a 2 decibel increase in the output and tonality of the guitar. So these are very special, they're very expensive, called liquid metal, and they really have an impact on the tone.